Joining me now is Hugh Hewitt. He is the host of The Hugh Hewitt Show on Salem's radio network. He's also an MSNBC political analyst. And Hugh, great to have you here this morning.
Thank you, Dara.
So I have to ask you, are you surprised by the president-elect's reaction to this information that he learned during yesterday's intelligence briefing?
No, I think he is intent on making one point very clear. Half of the Democratic voters for Secretary Clinton believe that the vote totals were manipulated by the Russians. As all of the intelligence agencies agree, that did not happen. So the president-elect is driving home a point that the vote totals were not impacted. And I think we can't say that enough. Now, it doesn't come as a surprise to me the Russians were behind this. I've been saying that for 4 or 5 months, and I think almost everyone who understood that WikiLeaks has been a front for the Russians for a long time understood that. But I wish President Obama had listened to then-candidate Romney 4 years ago instead of mocking his concern over Russia. I wish we hadn't given them a reset button. I wish we'd been stronger in the Crimea and Ukraine, because Vladimir Putin is a sinister guy. He's a KGB agent. And as Mitch McConnell said, Russia is not our friend. I do like that Lindsey Graham yesterday said to the president-elect, no one is saying you're not president. Everyone is agreeing you won legitimately. Let's focus on the fact that the Russians are taking active measures against our electoral system, and we need to push back when you are president, because our current president has not done so.
But in keeping with Trump's stance on Putin, does it seem like the president-elect is more trusting of Putin than of our own intelligence agencies?
No, absolutely not. I believe that President-elect Trump is going to be open to working with anyone. After all, Nixon worked with Mao, who murdered millions of people. President Obama went down to Cuba and worked with the Castro brothers. They are dictators and fascists and killers and murderers. You have to deal with tough guys around the world, and I think President-elect Trump will deal with whomever is in the United States' best interest to deal with. Certainly, he can't do worse with Russia than President Obama has done, and I doubt Trump will draw any red lines that he will erase and will invite Russia back into the Middle East. But I believe he does trust our intelligence agency. He does not, however, trust the media. And I think most of everything we should focus on is that Donald Trump is waging a war with the media narrative right now, that his election is somehow illegitimate. Only one Democrat has actually said it impacted the election result, as far as I can see. Massachusetts Congressman Jim McGovern stood up on the floor of the House yesterday and said that the electoral votes from Alabama shouldn't be counted because of the Russian interference in the election. That's a lunatic position. It had some impact, but as Speaker Ryan said, the Russians didn't tell Secretary Clinton not to go to Wisconsin, didn't tell her not to go to Michigan, didn't tell her to waste money and take volunteers that were headed to Michigan and send them back to Iowa. The Clinton campaign lost the election. Donald Trump won the election. The Russians meddled in the election. The Russians are not our friends. We should, however, I agree with the president-elect on this, move on, because he gets sworn in 2 weeks, and we will have Mike Pompeo at the CIA, Dan Coates at the National Director of Intelligence, General Mattis at Defense, General Kelly at Homeland Security. It'll be a new team of professionals as opposed to the kiddie corps that are running the NSC right now.
Well, let's move on, because I want to talk about the president-elect's plan for funding the border wall up front and then seeking repayment from Mexico. Yes or no? Do you really think this is going to happen?
I think the border fence is going to get built. It was authorized originally in 2006, 850 miles, and it didn't get built. In 2008, it was authorized to be 700 miles, a border fence, and it didn't get built. And I have been saying for years they've got to build the border fence, a double-layered, high-wide, with a road between it, as the visible expression of an invisible commitment to sovereignty. And I believe Donald Trump won a lot of votes on that. And so I think it's going to get built. Whether or not Mexico pays for it, we will have to wait and see.
Maybe third time's the charm. Hugh Hewitt, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.